guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and the battle of the QWERTY smartphones is upon us. You know, on Verizon you have the Motorola Droid 2, on Sprint you have the Epic 4G, on T-Mobile you have the Motorola G2. A lot of great high-end Android devices with physical QWERTY keyboards. Which one's the best? You know we're going to have to do a dogfight to figure that out. Motorola Droid 2 on Verizon, T-Mobile G2 on T-Mobile, obviously. Two high-end devices, two flagship devices on respective carriers. One supports 4G or 4G-like speeds, one doesn't. But do the features of the Motorola Droid 2 outweigh the G2's 4G capabilities? We'll find out about that and much more in the dogfight. But first, special thanks to our friends at Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with not one, not two, but four of these devices, two Droid 2s, two G2s, for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway. You know, when you go into Best Buy Mobile, you get these devices, you don't have to worry about rebates. You don't have to deal with messy paperwork, waiting 8 to 10 weeks, waiting for stupid debit cards in the mail. You go into Best Buy Mobile, you get this device, for the after rebate price. You don't have to worry about paperwork. And hey, you know, it's holiday shopping season. I don't like stress during the holidays. I'm sure you probably don't either. Makes it easier at Best Buy Mobile. But enough of that. Dogfight time. Motorola Droid 2, T-Mobile G2 starts right now. Okay, here they are. Two QWERTY keyboard Android champions on their respective carriers. The T-Mobile G2 on T-Mobile, available now for $199.99 after a $50 mail-in rebate. Motorola Droid 2 on Verizon, available now for $149.99 after a $100 mail-in rebate. Now, what's going on with this one? They're phasing it out to get ready for the Droid 2 Global, which bumps the processor from a 1 gigahertz processor to a 1.2 gigahertz processor. So the original Droid 2 is on closeout, so it's a little bit cheaper, but you know, save for the processor difference and the global connectivity, it's mostly the same. In terms of, you know, design and features, very similar. Both have 3.7-inch displays. The G2 has an 800 megahertz next generation Snapdragon processor, 1 gigahertz TI-OMAP processor on the Droid 2. 3.7-inch displays, I think I just said that. Android 2.2 and a vanilla version on the G2 with Moto Blur, or at least a toned-down version of Moto Blur on the Droid 2. So, you know, software-wise, hardware-wise, for the most part, barring some processor differences, kind of similar. Both have physical QWERTY keyboards. Both have 4-row physical QWERTY keyboards. Both are rubberized. Both are fantastic keyboards. Island keys on the G2. All-together keys are, you know, that are all together on the Motorola Droid 2. So minor differences there. Let's have a look at the hardware. On the left side, volume rocker, micro USB charging port, and on the right side, camera shortcut button, 3.5mm headphone jack on the top, power button on the top, and then a battery door, a nice metal battery door on the back. Now I have to give HTC credit here. This is a cool little touch. Instead of, you know, working to remove the battery door, trying to figure it out, all you have to do is flip the switch, and it pops out. So you'll see, bam. Pops out, gives you access to the battery, the SIM card slot, the micro SD card slot. When you're ready to put it back in, line it up. Bam, back in. 5-megapixel camera with a flash on the back there, and optical trackpad on the front with 4 capacitive buttons just below the display. Now let's have a look at the Motorola Droid 2 in terms of design. Left side, micro USB charging port, a little bit higher on this one. Volume rocker on the right-hand side, camera shortcut button, 5-megapixel camera with a flash. Now this is the R2-D2 version of the Droid 2, which is just some minor design differences, minor wallpaper, things like that. It's just a Star Wars-themed device. In terms of performance, should be exactly the same. 3.5mm headphone jack on the top, and 4 capacitive buttons just below the display on this one as well. Now here's where one of the big differences kicks in. It's a standard slide mechanism to get to the keyboard on the Motorola Droid 2. On the other hand, when you look at the G2, it utilizes HTC's newest hinge called a Z hinge, and you'll see flipping it up and over. It doesn't slide directly up. It flips up and over. So nice touch there. The one downside of the hinge, though, is if you text message in bed, you can't do it because the weight of the top piece detaches and causes it to close. So, you know, maybe a frustration for some. If you text message in bed or you text message upside down, might be an issue. Otherwise, in terms of design, I have to give it to the G2 just for the metal accents, for the optical trackpad, very classy look. And not to say that the Droid 2 isn't at all, but the metal accents, the metal battery door, the cool toggle here to remove the battery door, definitely a nice touch there. Not to say that this one isn't a gorgeous device, but just on design, I'd have to give it to the T-Mobile G2. Okay, so now that we've taken a look at the hardware, let's have a talk about the software. Android 2.2 pre-installed on both of these devices out of the box. Now on the G2, it's a vanilla version of Android 2.2 with minor T-Mobile software things like My Account, the quick keys, which we'll get into a bit later in the video here. But otherwise, the otherwise vanilla version of Android 2.2. Now, on the Motorola Droid 2, on the other hand, it's Android 2.2, but it's running Motorola's Moto Blur custom user interface, or at least a toned-down version that you've seen on the Droid X. It's not the full-scale version like what you would see on a device like the flip side with the colored icons and Moto Blur connectivity, but it definitely has a customized user interface. So you'll see here, let's just run through some of the apps. 3G mobile hotspot on this device, so you can use it as a mobile hotspot. Verizon's backup assistant. Some pre-installed apps like Blockbuster, City ID, Gmail, of course, all the typical Google apps, Maps. Skype Mobile on the Verizon side. This one, because it's a Star Wars-centric one, it has some Star Wars stuff. And then, of course, other YouTube apps, other Google apps like YouTube. Now, one of the interesting things I like about Moto Blur is that out of the box, it provides some really useful applications. Like you'll see here, haven't touched it other than to download Quadrant Standard and Speed Test for a little later in the Dogfight. But, for example, files. You can go here, you can access your phone files, the shared folders, and you don't have to worry about downloading Astro from the Android market or downloading, any other apps from the Android market. So it's nice that out of the box, they give you a couple of apps that'll help make the job a little bit easier. Media share, scroll down through here, voice commands, voice search, which is a Google thing, but still, some nice programs out of the box, and, emergency, just little things where you're like, hey, I wish I had that. It's pre-installed on the Motorola Droid 2, so the files thing is a nice touch. Now, on the G2, it's, very vanilla in terms of the Android software. I've already installed Astro, actually, on this one. But you'll see, save for a couple of T-Mobile apps, like T-Mobile's My Account, and then T-Mobile's Wi-Fi calling, which is down here at the bottom, which is new as of the G2 software update that came out a couple of weeks ago. Enabled Wi-Fi calling and mobile hotspot. So now, whereas if I'd done this Dogfight a couple of weeks ago, this one would have mobile hotspot, this one wouldn't. Both of these have mobile hotspot now with the G2 able to tether and support HSPA plus speeds. So nice touch there. But you'll see some T-Mobile stuff on this. But for the most part, it's very vanilla. Now, one of the interesting things about the G2, it comes with like every Google app known to man pre-installed on the device. Google Finance, Google Goggles, Google Search, Google Translate, Google Sky Map, Google everything, Google take over the world. And they're all pre-installed on this device. Which, for some people, I would download most of those anyway, so it's not a big deal. The problem is you can't remove those, at least in the stock form. So you go to you go to applications without doing any sort of work behind the scenes. I go to manage applications. I want to remove. Go to all. I want to remove. One of the let's say Earth, for example, Google Earth can't do it. It's not able to be uninstalled. So for those people that weren't downloading that, it's valuable space on the device that they could use for something else. Now the underlying operating, because it is Android 2.2, you'll see the underlying operating system is very similar. Both have the little Android 2.2 touches like the small PM text in the top right-hand corner. And then both have things like live wallpapers, and then general menu settings are very similar. Now you'll notice at the bottom here, just doing some comparisons, the home and menu buttons are switched on these two devices. But again, live wallpapers on both devices. And you can see see several different options there depending on which one you get. So they're both very equipped. They're both great high-end devices in terms of that. Now let's have a look at the keyboards. I want to touch on that. And excuse me, the keyboards, 4-row QWERTY keyboard on the G2. It's just absolutely wonderful keyboard. I wrote in the review, and I still will say this today. It's one of the best physical QWERTY keyboards on the market. Just phenomenal. The travel's fantastic. Very tactile. Love the island keys, which is funny because usually I'm not a fan of island keys, but I've been very impressed with how quickly jump over the phone dog. Quick Brown Fox jumps are supposed to be jumps over the phone dog, so you can see pretty quick typing experience there, and the keys are centered very nicely to where I'm not reaching over a D-pad like in the original Droid or some other devices that are on the market. Feels great in the hand, very tactile, all around great keyboard. Now the quick keys are a nice touch. You can click on one of these, and let's say you do something like, let's open the second one here. Let's say you you check your messages pretty regularly, which, who doesn't? Because you're popular. Or let's just say, latitude. You like to go to latitude. Quick key to assign. So anytime I want to go to latitude, instead of having to navigate through the menu and go to latitude, click the button. That easy. And I go to latitude. So nice touch there. And then if you want those on the home screen, there's a widget that you can install and onto one of the home screens, and it gives you the access from the main menu. But anyway, nice keyboard on that one. Now, when you get to the on-screen keyboard options, this is actually one that I downloaded to test. It's called Smart Keyboard. But the two options out of the box, swipe and Android keyboard. So we'll go to Android keyboard here, and you can see very stock Android keyboard, as it says. Typical one that you've seen on devices of the past. Now, I'm pretty quick at it, but I can automatically tell you on the on-screen keyboard side, I have to give it to the Droid 2. Love the Motorola multi-touch keyboard. Fantastic, easy to use. And while it is on a 3.7-inch screen, so it's a little bit smaller than the Droid X's 4.3-inch screen, still a great keyboard on screen. So on that topic, let's go over to the Droid 2 and go into text messaging. And you can see there is the multi-touch keyboard. And we'll go to, hey, how are you doing? Maybe I'm just a bad typer. Hey there, how are you doing? It's supposed to be, hey there, how are you doing? But very easy to use. And of course, like all of these, you can use it in portrait or landscape mode. Now, again, another great keyboard option here on the Droid 2. Keys are very tactile. They're together. They're not island keys. They are together, and there's a nice little D-pad here in the bottom right-hand corner in case you need it for gaming or anything like that. Not on the G2. So a little bit of a bonus point or two for having a D-pad integrated into the keyboard. Otherwise, very easy to type on. And I have no idea what I'm typing until hey there, how are you doing today? And let me know. So, nice keyboard on that front. Now, in terms of the physical QWERTY keyboard, I have to give the slight edge to the G2. I think the keys are more tactile, just ever so slightly, and they're spaced in a way that makes it really easy to type. So, slight edge to the G2 in terms of QWERTY keyboard, but, Motorola Droid 2, not far behind at all. In terms of the G2, the Droid 2, and the Samsung Epic, it's a tough call in terms of physical QWERTY keyboards between all of them, but this one just slightly takes the cake thanks to tactile feedback and the way it feels in the hand. But don't get me wrong, if you're on Verizon, you don't want to switch, fantastic physical keyboard on the Droid 2. On screen, it's a different story. I have to give the credit to the Motorola Droid 2. That Motorola multi-touch keyboard is just fantastic in my book. It's a great keyboard. The keys are spaced very nicely. The size is perfect, and overall, just been very pleased with the on-screen keyboard there. Now, you get a couple of different options on this one as well. If I remember right. No, I'm sorry, you don't on this, and there's no. I wanted to say swipe was pre-installed on this device, but I guess not. So, swipe and standard Android keyboard, Motorola multi-touch keyboard. If you look hard enough, you can get swipe on the Droid 2. So, on screen, Droid 2 takes the cake. Physical, T-Mobile G2 takes the cake. So, it has quite a bit of live wallpapers as well, including, Lightspeed it is.